Bro, I'm sitting here at 2 in the morning, my coffee is cold, my hands are literally shaking as I type these notes, and I am still trying to process what I just watched on ESPN. The most decorated player in the history of the National Basketball Association just walked into a studio and decimated everybody around him. I'm talking about Luka Doncic, I'm talking about Rob Pelinka, I'm talking about JJ Redick, I'm talking about the entire Los Angeles Lakers organization. LeBron James, the king himself, just sat down for what was supposed to be a standard offseason exit interview with Stephen A. Smith on First Take, and instead, what we got was the rawest, most emotional, most damaging public statement of his entire 23-year career. The Lakers got swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round of the playoffs less than 3 weeks ago. Luka Doncic missed the entire postseason with a grade 2 hamstring strain. Austin Reeves was hurt and not himself when he came back, and LeBron, at 41 years old, sitting on an expiring contract with his entire future hanging in the balance, just told the world things tonight that he has never ever said before. So sit down, lock in, grab whatever you're drinking, because I am about to walk you through every single bombshell that just dropped, and I promise you by the end of this video, you are going to understand why this might be the most important night in the history of LeBron James as a basketball player. Hey, what's up everyone? Real quick before we get into everything, that like button is literally what determines if this reaches hundreds or thousands of fans. Takes 1 second, but makes a huge impact on the channel's growth. Just smash that like button right now. It's the easiest thing you can do, but honestly, the biggest way to support this content, every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. Let me set the scene for you. ESPN had been promoting this interview for the entire week. The headline they were running on the bottom of every show was LeBron's future revealed live on First Take, Stephen A. Smith had been teasing it on his own social media for days, saying that this was going to be the most important interview he had ever done. The setup was the standard ESPN studio in New York. LeBron flew in from Los Angeles specifically for this. He was wearing one of his own clothing line shirts. No chains, no flashy stuff, just a man who looked like he had spent the last 3 weeks thinking very, very hard about his life. The interview started exactly the way you would expect. Stephen A. asked him about the playoff loss. LeBron gave the typical, "we ran into a great Thunder team" answer. Stephen A. asked him about his individual playoff performance, where LeBron averaged 23.2 points, 7.3 assists, and 6.7 rebounds. LeBron talked about being proud of the way he competed at 41 years old. He talked about how the team came together despite all the injuries. And then Stephen A. asked the question that nobody saw coming, the question that completely derailed what was supposed to be a routine offseason check-in. He asked LeBron point blank if he felt that Luka Doncic's absence in the playoffs was actually a hamstring injury, or if there were other factors involved. And folks, that's the moment that everything changed. You could literally see LeBron's face shift on camera. The smile dropped, his eyes narrowed. He looked down at the table for what felt like 15 full seconds. Stephen A. tried to clarify the question, but LeBron held up his hand and stopped him. He took a deep breath. He pulled the microphone closer to his mouth. And what came out of his lips next is the line that is going to be replayed on every basketball debate show in this country for the next month. Stephen A. I'm going to be honest with you tonight because I'm 41 years old. This might be the last interview I ever do as an active player, and I'm tired of pretending everything is okay when it's not okay. The hamstring injury was real. I'm not going to disrespect Luka by suggesting otherwise. But what I will say, and what I have been holding in for the entire season, is that there were moments during this playoff run where I wondered, where every single guy in our locker room wondered, whether or not Luka understood what this opportunity meant. I have 1 championship in the last 15 years. 1. Every other guy in my generation is either retired or has multiple rings. I came to Los Angeles in 2018 with the understanding that this franchise was going to do whatever it took to surround me with a championship roster. 8 years later, we have the 7th best record in the league during my time here. We've gone 16-26 in the playoffs since the bubble. And this year, the year that was supposed to be the redemption year, the year we built around Luka, we get to the second round and we get swept without our best player. Now you tell me, Stephen A. As a journalist, when does it become fair for me to ask hard questions? Because I'm done waiting for the right time. The studio went completely silent. I'm telling you, I have never seen Stephen A. Smith with that look on his face. The man who has built an entire career out of yelling at people through cameras was just sitting there with his mouth slightly open, blinking. He tried to come back in with a follow-up question, but LeBron wasn't done. Because the next name out of LeBron James's mouth was the name nobody wanted to hear, and the words that followed are the kind of words that don't just disappear. They become history. They become part of the permanent narrative of this franchise. Let me talk about Luka since we're on the topic, and before everyone in Los Angeles loses their mind, let me make this clear. I love Luka. I love him like a brother. I love him like a son in some ways. He is one of the most talented offensive players I have ever shared a court with. He led the league in scoring this year at 33.5 points per game. He is a generational talent, but, and this is the butty that nobody in the media wants to talk about, Luka has now suffered hamstring issues twice in this same season. He missed games before the All-Star break. He came back. He hurt the same hamstring on April 2nd against Oklahoma City. He missed the entire playoff run. And while he was in Spain getting platelet-rich plasma treatments, while he was telling us he wasn't close to clearing, while we were on the court without him in Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, and Game 4 against the Thunder, I was looking around our locker room and asking myself a question. The question was, is this a player who is doing everything in his power to be available for his team? And I'm not saying he wasn't, I'm not. But what I am saying is that conditioning matters, body work matters. Off-season preparation matters, and at 27 years old, with the prime of his career ahead of him, Luka has to look in the mirror this summer and ask himself if he is giving this franchise and giving me what we deserve, because I sacrificed my last good years on the assumption that he was going to be ready to compete. Bro, I literally had to pause the broadcast. I had to walk away from my desk. I went to the kitchen, I poured myself a glass of water, I came back, I sat down, and I rewound it because there was no way that LeBron James, the most diplomatic superstar in NBA history, had just publicly questioned Luka Doncic's conditioning on national television. But that's exactly what happened. And it gets worse, folks. It gets so much worse because Stephen A. Smith, sensing the moment, leaned forward and asked LeBron if he was suggesting that Luka should have been able to play. And LeBron didn't back down. He doubled down. He said the exact words, "We have guys on this team who care more about their stats than winning, and we have guys who think availability is optional." I'm not naming names because I respect my teammates too much, but the people in our locker room know what I'm talking about. The studio lit up. ESPN's social media team was clearly already preparing the clips. Stephen A. could not believe what was happening on his own show. And then LeBron pivoted, and what he said about Austin Reeves was even more shocking than what he said about Luka. Let me talk about Austin Reeves, because I love that kid. I love him. I've coached him up since he was an undrafted rookie. I was his biggest critic in his rookie year because I saw what he could be. And let me be clear, Austin is a max player. He is going to get a max contract this summer, somewhere, and he deserves every penny. But, and again, this is the butty that nobody wants to discuss. When Luka went down on April 2nd, Austin had a chance to step up and be the guy for the Lakers in the playoffs. He had a grade 2 oblique strain, he missed time, and when he came back, he averaged 18.6 points and 5.8 assists in the Thunder series with 19 turnovers. He shot 18.8% in Game 1, 18.8%, against a defense that I, at 41 years old, scored 27 points against in the same game. So when people ask me what went wrong in those Thunder games, I have to be honest. We needed Austin to be a star, and Austin was not a star. And the reason that matters is because the Lakers are about to give him a $240 million contract. They have offered him a 5-year, $241 million max extension. And before that ink is dry on that paper, somebody in this organization needs to ask if Austin Reeves is actually a max player, or if he is a really good number 2 who has been allowed to think he is something he is not. The Twitter universe exploded in real time. I'm telling you, my notifications were going crazy as I was watching this. LeBron James, who has never publicly criticized a teammate by name in his entire 23-year career, just questioned Austin Reeves' max contract on First Take, while he was sitting next to Stephen A. Smith in front of millions of viewers. Folks, this is not a man who was planning to come back to the Los Angeles Lakers next season. This is a man who was burning the bridge on his way out. And the worst part is that Stephen A. tried to give him an out. He literally said, "LeBron, are you sure you want to go this direction tonight?" And LeBron looked him dead in the eye and said, "Stephen A., I have spent 23 years saying the right thing in front of cameras. Tonight I'm saying the real thing." And then he turned and addressed the Lakers organization directly. He went after JJ Redick. He went after Rob Pelinka. He went after the front office. And folks, what he said about them is the kind of statement that does not get forgotten. While we're being honest tonight, let me address the front office. Rob Pelinka, when I came to Los Angeles 8 years ago, I was promised a championship roster every single year. We won in the bubble in 2020. I gave you everything I had in that bubble. 25 years old physically, 41 years old chronologically. I came back the next year, and we got eliminated in the first round. We rebuilt. We brought in Anthony Davis. We brought in role players. We changed coaches. We hired JJ Redick last summer, a first-time head coach with no experience, because somebody in the front office had a podcast relationship with him. And I have nothing personal against JJ. I think he's a smart basketball mind. But when you bring in a first-time coach for a roster that has me at 40 years old and Luka at 27, you are not putting championship infrastructure around your two best players. You are experimenting, and I'm tired of being an experiment. I'm tired of the front office failing to put a championship team around me. The front office has failed to put a championship team around me. Say it with me. They have failed. And while everybody wants to blame me for the playoff losses, while everybody wants to debate my GOAT case based on my Lakers record, nobody wants to talk about the fact that this organization has not had a coherent roster strategy for 5 straight seasons. ESPN went to commercial. They had to. The producers in the truck were clearly in damage control mode, because this was not the interview they had planned. This was not the interview they had marketed. This was an absolute live demolition of the Los Angeles Lakers franchise by their own franchise player. I figured, like everybody watching, that when they came back from the break, somebody from LeBron's team, Rich Paul, his agent, would have called the booth and said, "Pump the brakes, calm him down, we still have a free agency to navigate." Instead, when First Take came back from commercial, LeBron James was sitting in that chair with an even more intense look on his face. He had taken his blazer off, he was leaning forward. And the words that came out of his mouth next were the most personal, the most emotional, and the most revealing of any moment in his entire career. During the break, my team asked me if I wanted to walk some things back. I'm not walking anything back. I want to talk about something personal. For 23 years, I have given this league everything I have. Every summer I have trained. Every fall I have shown up to camp at 100%. I have played 1,500 regular season games. I have played in 10 NBA Finals. I have won 4 championships. I am the all-time scoring leader. I am the all-time games played leader. And during all of that time, I have watched players around me get rings, get glory, get celebrated, while I keep getting questioned. And here is what nobody talks about. Here is what I want every single person watching this interview to understand. When I came to Los Angeles in 2018, my son Bronny was 13 years old. I made the move so I could be close to my family, so I could finish my career on the West Coast, so I could play one more championship level chapter. 8 years later, my son is now in the NBA on the same team as me. My career has reached its sunset, and I am sitting here at 41 years old with one Lakers championship in a bubble that nobody respects, and an organization that doesn't know what direction it's going in. I have given this city everything. And I'm asking myself tonight, on this stage, whether or not I should give them one more year. Lisa Salters was reading questions from the studio team in her earpiece, and you could see her struggling to figure out what to ask next, because LeBron had just opened a door that you couldn't close. He had just publicly contemplated his own retirement. He had just expressed regret about his Lakers tenure. He had just challenged his teammates, his coaches, his front office, and the entire narrative around his legacy. And then he said something that made me, the cynical sports YouTuber who has watched LeBron say all the right things for 2 decades, actually feel something genuine. He said, "I'm not going to be quiet anymore. For 23 years I have been quiet. I have smiled in press conferences. I have praised teammates who didn't deserve praise. I have given the diplomatic answer when the truth would have set this league on fire. Tonight is the night I stop. Tonight is the night I tell the truth. And whoever doesn't like it, whoever in the Lakers organization is uncomfortable with what I'm saying right now, that's a you problem, because I have earned the right to speak." Then came the ultimatum, the veiled threat, the line that every general manager in the NBA is going to be talking about for the next 2 months. LeBron leaned even closer to the microphone. He pointed directly into the camera, and he said, "Rob Pelinka, JJ Redick, ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers, here is where I stand. I am a free agent on July 1st. I have always said I want to retire in Los Angeles. I have always said this organization is special to me, but that loyalty cannot be one way. If you want me to come back next year, if you want me to play my 24th NBA season in a Lakers uniform, I need to see a championship plan. I need to see the trades. I need to see the signings, I need to see the commitment, and if I don't see it by July, you are going to find out very quickly that there are other teams in this league that would love to have LeBron James for one final run. Maybe my best friend's son, maybe the team that drafted me, maybe somewhere nobody expects, but I will not be the face of an organization that is just hoping things work out. Mark my words." Then he started talking about his family, about his wife Savannah, about his mother Gloria, about what it meant for him to have his son Bronny in the league with him. He talked about how this entire season had been emotionally difficult for him because he could feel the end approaching, and instead of being able to enjoy what should have been a celebratory final chapter, he was forced to deal with injuries, with chemistry problems, with the Luka transition, with all the noise around his retirement. He talked about how every time he sees Bronny in a Lakers uniform, he feels both pride and pressure. And then he said one of the most heartbreaking things I have ever heard him say. He said, "I never wanted my last NBA memory to be a Ford Neal sweep. I never wanted my last image as a Laker to be losing 115 to 110 in Game 4 of a second-round playoff series. If that was my last game, then I'm not okay with it, which means I'm coming back somewhere for one more chapter. And I'm going to make sure that chapter ends the way it deserves to end." The interview ended a few minutes later. LeBron thanked Stephen A. He hugged him. He walked off the set. The First Take crew came back live to the audience. And even Stephen A. Smith, who never runs out of words, said the words, "I think we all just witnessed something historic, and I'm going to need to process this before I say anything else." For Stephen A. Smith to need to process before talking, you understand how big this was.